So the road trip is over. The five, was it 5-game, 4-team road trip? Not the easiest to pull off when you think about that. But it's over. They're coming back home on the heels of a 2-1 defeat in Nashville. Was talking this morning on the other show. The Nashville Predators, for whatever reason, have had the Flames number, and they had it again. And again, end of a road trip, fatigue, travel. Even with the 2 games in St. Louis, you're not flying. The question I have for you, Red, how drunk were they last night, and did they play guilty? Did they play guilty enough tonight?
Now, would they not have gotten into Nashville on Saturday? And would they not have been able to get drunk on Saturday night and maybe been hungover on Sunday and feeling better today? That's how I probably would have operated mine.
Well, boy, I'm not going to doubt you. You're a Hall of Famer in this regard. Is it possible there was so much of a good time had on Saturday into Sunday morning that there was still some lingering effects?
I believe it's possible. I've had it to the point where I actually had to address the issue the next day just to.
Yeah. What is that? The hair of the dog?
Yeah.
If I don't have another beer right now,
you're in Nashville. The band was just so good. It was so good. I had to go back there playing again.
So good. I give a lot of credit. I have a lot of respect for players because you watch in the third period when teams are bearing down at the end of a road trip, whether it's 5 cities, 4 cities. This looked like a Flames team that was at the end of a trip. They looked, at least some individuals, and it's not to even give them shit, but it just looked like a number of the guys were done tonight.
They looked off enough that you could tell they'd been traveling, and as a group, they were just a little bit slower than maybe they needed to be. So. Yeah, 5 games, like you said, even though that one in St. Louis, you played 2. So you didn't have to travel quite as much as you normally do. But still, that's a week or so on the road is plenty of time to get fatigued and tired and ready to go. So I'm not surprised by the outcome. I'm more surprised because I thought they battled back into it. I thought at the start, Nashville was kind of taking it to them. And by the end, the Flames had given themselves a chance.
Yeah. I thought early because you could see there was the physicality, and that's obviously by design. This team's coming in. It's the last game of the trip. Let's bang the bodies. And I wondered, just with how it was going before the goals went in, if this was maybe going to be a good thing for the Flames. You're not going to be able to sleepwalk through this game. You're going to have to get your head up. You're going to have to be on your toes. But as the game wore on, it's not the most physical game, but it was more physical, I thought, than the St. Louis game or Chicago. Dallas had a little bit of bite to it, but I go back to last year when they played Nashville because they showed that Lucic hit on Duchesne when his helmet went flying off of his head. Mm-hmm. Flames don't have that anymore, do they? And I don't know where is it. Tkachuk's gone, obviously, and Goodbranson leaves, but you don't get the feel outside of Lucic and Kadri and the odd time maybe Zadorov that there's much in the way of physicality in this team. It's changed in a hurry that way.
No, and you're right. I think that Goodbranson, we were shocked at how well he played, but then that physical and the ability to scrap, and Zadorov, that put Zadorov in the right lineup spot, right? Because then he can play physical and not have to worry maybe about fighting because he's not as good at it. And Tkachuk, he had to get in everyone's face and piss everyone off. So you kind of got dragged in by him. Yeah. So I think they missed that. I don't know what it equates to as far as more wins or less wins or.
It was just kind of more of an observation than everything. Yeah. I think that was the one thing, because we talked about it a lot last year, that there was finally that identity. The one thing that Sutter brought with him was when you played the Flames, you knew it may not be the fastest team in the league, but you better be ready for potentially a physical night. Not so much.
I don't know. Yeah, I think they have a hard time playing physical. I think they have a hard time playing as physical as Darryl would want them to play, to be honest with you. I think he would prefer even a little bit more. He's got him playing his style hockey, kind of low scoring, low event would be my opinion on it. But I don't think they're as physical as he would like it to be.
I wonder what Jacob Markstrom thinks. He's sitting on the bench in Dallas as they pump in 6 against the Stars. And then on a night like tonight, they get 1. Had two, but it was kicked, and we'll talk about that. It changed a little bit, but you go over the course of the games, and it's not so much Vladar, but there have been some nights where Markstrom has taken a loss, or the Flames have lost, where they just haven't given him the run support. And I don't know if he's going to be pouting about it, but getting back into the net, there's some focus. You know, he would have wanted to play well. We'll talk about the goals that went in, but the margin for error is pretty low when you get one goal from your offense.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to be getting the run support. And even Chicago, when he got yanked, they hadn't scored any. So it seems tougher for him. Now, there's always, well, you play better in front of these guys and that, but I don't ever remember playing and thinking, I got to play different because we've got a different goalie and not for any amount of time either, right? Like when Rolison would go in for Hasek here, or McLennan would go in for Kiprusoff. Maybe a little bit. You're like, oh, I'm going to play hard. But it was more, I'm going to play hard for my buddy because I want him to do well, not because you didn't trust that he couldn't make the saves. Yeah. And I don't think that plays into it now anymore with Vladar. He's been there long enough that it's just another goalie. But it does seem like he gets more run support than Markstrom. I don't think that. I don't think the Flames are good enough to think they're going to start getting 4 goals a game. They're just, even 3 is going to be tough for them. I think they're going to be a low scoring squad the rest of the way.
What was it, 4 in St. Louis in the second game there? 4 against St. Louis, 6 against Dallas, so 10 in those 2 games, and then 1 tonight. This is an impossible team to try and figure out. We were kind of... My light went out. Did you see that?
Oh, wow. Pay your bills. You got it on a timer? It's a fancy light.
It is a very fancy light. You know what? I probably needed to give it a charge. Is probably what it is. It's very fancy. What were we saying?
I think we're saying the Flames are going to struggle to score, which is really we're really going out on a limb.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
We'll talk. Well, let's just do it. We may as well do it here. It is it's buy it or sell it. Derrick Newman of Newman Dean's Realty with CIR Realty, the real estate group. There you see it. 403-619-6661. Derrick Newman, good guy. With Markstrom, the 2 goals that go in, one goes off of Zadorov. I guess it went in off of Zadorov. Yossi gets credit for it. The other one is a bit of a scramble in front, and of course, Parssinen scores. You knew that was going to happen after we yipped him earlier today. But then he made his rebound control, I thought, was pretty good. He makes the big save off of Granlund, the kind of pad save, glove save. Markstrom played well enough to win tonight. That's the buy or sell. Are you buying it? Or when you score 1, you have to allow 1 or less?
No, I'm buying that he played well. I think that I said earlier today I was surprised that he was going to get into the lineup tonight because I thought they would ride Vladar till I guess Daryl might consider it floundering in Dallas, but it was still a win. So I expected Vladar to be in net. But whenever Markstrom was coming back, and it turned out to be tonight, it was going to be a pressure situation. He's been criticized enough. He's been pulled enough. He's been terrible enough. He's let in weak goals enough this year where the criticism has been warranted. And he's built kind of that pressure for himself now, where if he comes and has a stinker, it's just continues to build on that when you start to question his ability. So I think he was knowing that this was going to the next start, and tonight was going to be a big, tough game that he needed to impress on, and I thought he did pretty well. Nashville was on him early, and he made the saves he had to make, and it's a tough break with the Zadorov one, but he only gave up 2. I don't think he can lay the blame on the loss at Markstrom's feet, so I'll buy what he's selling.
Yeah. The other thing, too, I wonder in his head, no shots from distance beat him. No shooters really beat him. The one it's going wide, and he's covering that side of the net, and it goes off a body and in. And the other one, does he come across too early? I don't know. You're really kind of nitpicking at that point. A night where no real shooter beat him, he still loses by a 2-1 score. So I'm kind of with you. I think he'll go again. They got Colorado coming in on Wednesday night, I guess it is, as they'll get back on home ice, and I think he probably goes there. I guess part 2, we'll keep it rolling for Derrick Newman. Daryl, after the last game, because he was, oh, it's the middle of a road trip. Of course, Vladar is going to play. We're just get him in. It's pretty easy who was going to play. We're now Marky gets ready for a stretch of games. Are are you buying what Daryl's selling? That's the move is. And again, I never know really. We speak Sutter ease. Is that for the media? Is that for Vladar to hear? Is that for Markstrom to hear? Or is that just him being completely honest? I don't know. But if Markstrom is going to be the guy for the next four, because they have a back to back right before the All-Star break, end of next week. So if he plays, four of the next five of the next six, is that the right move?
Yeah, I'll tell you that right at the All-Star break if that's the right move. And I don't think he rides it that long anyway. So I think Daryl wants a number one, and he wants it to be Markstrom, and he's going to continue to try and give it to him. And the problem I think that we've had with Markstrom is that a night like tonight, were you buying or were you selling? Like, was he good? Well, he didn't win.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't win. He didn't, but he only gave up two, right? It's been kind of that's exactly how Markstrom's season has been. Well, he kind of terrible rebound, but they only scored a goal. So maybe, like he's had enough
I
excuses
know.
and he's played well enough at times, but then he gives up a crappy one. So he's going to have to play kind of mistake free. I don't think he has to be shutout, but I think he has to be. You can let in goals, but they have to be goals, right? You can't let in goals that are when your brain falls asleep and you get frustrated or you're out of position or anything like that. It's going to be have to
That's what it
be
felt like, right?
yes,
In St. Louis, and it felt like that's what was going on.
and if that happens again, I think Daryl's quick to yank him and use Vladar. I mean, that's the nice thing for Daryl is that he can go have a short leash. You're our guy, Markstrom. Except you had a shitty goal against, and you're out. So, I,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a tough call right now.
You wish that for everybody involved, obviously, but even for Daryl, because he's given some play to Vladar and he's deserved it. But the whole thing was you can't play Markstrom too much because the workload and this and that. You wish that Markstrom was responding to the time off because it really hasn't happened yet. He's letting in bad goals because he's tired. He's being overplayed. Well, now he's not being overplayed. He's still among the leaders in starts, but he's not being over. And if anything, the results are worse than they have been. I don't know
Yeah,
if he was play on a night like tonight. I said to you before we started, on a night like tonight, if he had been playing better, if he's coming in 3, 4, 5 games in a row where he's been very good, you give him the benefit of the doubt on a couple of on these two goals tonight, or one of the two, whatever it is. But when you're not playing well, were those bad goals or good? Well, did he leave too soon? You're second guessing everything. I guess that's what fans and media do, whatever. But
I think that what
it's
people, I think it's more important, honestly, and I'm more and more confident that the Flames are making the playoffs this year. You asked me 6 weeks ago, I wasn't overly, but I think they've put enough of a streak together points wise, and even tonight felt like a game where they might actually sneak a point out of it. But anyway, what I'm trying to get at is that Markstrom might have ups and downs during the year, and we can criticize him. It's going for me. It's what are you going to do in the playoffs, right?
yeah,
Like you have to make. I don't care if he has another season like last year, 10 shutouts and Vesna finalists and this and that. If you're out in the second round, what difference does it? I need you to be just shutting
yeah,
the door completely in round two, right? Like I want to get a Markstrom jersey in round two because he's playing so damn good, right? Like I don't care about Nashville January 16th, right? It's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. This team is about playoff hockey or should be about playoff hockey, and Markstrom now shouldn't be. I mean, you're always going to get judged somewhat on your regular season, but I think more importantly, he should be being judged on are you taking the team on your back and winning them games in the playoffs when they desperately need you because
yeah.
it didn't happen last year. And that's going to be where you had your time off during the year. You don't have an excuse that you're overly worked and you're tired. Uh, I don't care about the crappy goal in Chicago. I don't care about the crappy goal in St. Louis during the regular season. No crappy goals in April, May, June. Thank you very much. If you can do that, then I think you've answered all the questions, or the naysayers or the doubters or whatever you want to call them.
Buy It or Sell It is a presentation of Derrick Newman of Newman Dean's Real Estate Group with CIR Realty. Good guy. D. Newman at cirrealty.ca. Give him a call, 403-619-6661. Derrick Newman with Newman Dean's Real Estate Group. They had the tying goal. It was a power play goal. It was exactly what they needed. The power play finally coming through. They had the 5-on-3, and I want to ask you about Anderson in a moment, but they had the goal. And I know we have the video of it, and I didn't see it immediately, but what is a distinct kicking motion? This looks like a distinct kicking motion. Yeah.
Well, you know what? Is it a foot to Foley that...
Nice try, Kelly.
This might be a better look.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
There is a bit of a...
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit.
And when you look back on it, you can tell with Toffoli when he gets up, right? It's like,
yeah, look at that, boys. Tied her up. Big. We're going overtime again. Get ready. Yeah. That's what happens when you play tight games. When you're in the little things, little bounces, things that's gonna mean more than in a. Although they were up 6-1 the other day, and that ended up being a 1-goal game, but very little. I know some people were asking about, well, Saros touched it before it went in, but it's how it's propelled towards the net. The net. So now they had the power play, which goes over on the night because of that. And they had the 5-on-3 for 1:42. And as they're bringing the puck up the ice, Anderson gets his stick into the face, whatever it was, Tanner Jeannot or whoever the hell it was. I really like Rasmus Anderson. I really do. He's a hell of a player. He's one of the most improved Flames over the last 2 years. But he does some dumb shit sometimes that just makes you shake your head. Dude, what are you thinking? Why?
I don't think he was. I think it was one of those things where I think it was such a split-second decision. He didn't even know if it was a bad decision until after it was like, oh, I'm hooped. Yeah. This is no good, right? Like, it's stupid to begin with. I'm sure he was like, I don't know. I just reacted. It was nothing. I was dumb. I didn't mean to. All of the above. But I think Daryl sent a message at the end of the game that he didn't appreciate it.
Okay, that brings in, I was going to ask you, because the goalie comes out, it's a 1-goal game, you've got the pressure in the offensive zone, you've taken your time out, and Michael Stone and Nikita Zadorov are two defensemen on the ice. So certainly Zadorov has scored, he's had a great year, but those two guys on the ice at that moment, and
it's 5-6.
I mean,
it's 5-6.
Stone, the glaring one, it's the 5-6. So is that... It could be anything, I suppose. Certainly.
Well, it could be anything.
Something.
This is where it's like, I thought Mackenzie Weegar was like a number one. Like, well, he's not going to be out there. And Stone is the best Stone can be. Great. If you set him up. And the other thing, I'm babbling all over.
No,
having
good.
Zadorov and Stone out there. First of all, I don't like it. I think that says you have to be sending a message, and if you aren't, then you're not a good team, because there's no way they should be on the ice. But if you are going to use them, it's because you want Stone to blast, right? And
yeah,
Dopey Zadorov could have fed him a couple one-timers and didn't do it. I'm like, no, dude,
well,
you're set up for this. Too. Slide it over.
I know. Well, I wondered it because he did it first, and then Stone didn't shoot it. I wondered if he was like, if you're not going to shoot it, I'm just going to Kadri or whoever the hell it was on the right flank here. You're here to shoot, son.
Those are the reasons why Big Z doesn't need to be out there at the end of the game. Don't thanks. Right? Like,
yeah. It was again. I think it comes back to fatigue, because you think it's you're tired, your legs and all that. there's brain fog there too, because there were a
100%.
couple of plays by Huberdeau on that 1/3 period power play where he's trying to force a pass through, and he's a great passer, but the passes weren't there, and you just wonder.
They say. No, they're
You know,
tired. It's fine. I don't think you. What did they get? 8 out of how many points?
Well, it's 6 of a
6.
possible 10.
Not good enough. And that's where, we were like, not against the teams that they played. And the only way 6 out of 10 is good is if you beat Chicago, St. Louis, and lose to Dallas and Nashville. You know what I mean? Like they didn't get all the points they could have out of Chicago, and they didn't get all the points they could have out of St. Louis. With St. Louis beat the piss with the lineup they had, right? Like it's not St. Louis. This is not Stanley Cup Final St. Louis where it's you're in for a battle. They had a bunch of guys missing, and I don't think 6 out of it keeps you in the playoffs for sure. But I don't think 6 out of 10 is good enough with the lineups that they had to face.
Yes. The Chicago one hurts the most. You had no business losing that hockey game.
And that point alone,
trip, you were fresh. No Patrick Kane. Man.
It goes from this was a great trip to if you get those 2 points and you end up with 7 to 6 out of 10. Okay, it's okay.
Is it possible we're too picky? Because 6 isn't good enough. 7, you'd for sure take 7 to 10.
Well, 7 is 700. 600 hockey is going to help. But if you only play 600 hockey the rest of the way, you're going to be in for battle because you didn't play 600 hockey at the start of the year. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing if you think that this team's going to have an 8-game win streak, yeah, sure. Then it's 600 hockey following that will get you there. But I don't think they are. I think they've got a lot of 2-1 battles coming up and a lot of grinding coming up. And if you piss away points to Chicago, we saw a couple of years ago, the COVID thing, they pissed points away against the Sens, who couldn't beat anyone. And that was the difference. You don't see the playoffs.
Okay, so let me ask you this then. They beat Chicago. Let's say they beat Chicago in regulation. They split, but actually they get the extra point against St. Louis and a victory. They lose in Dallas against the first place Stars and then lose tonight. Do you take it any easier?
So you
same number of points.
Yeah.
But you've lost to Dallas.
I actually think that it's a more realistic and you could wrap your head around it better, right? You're like, oh yeah, well, they lost to Dallas and then they lost the last game on the road trip. But it seems harder to leave points in Chicago and in St. Louis when you're up 3-1 in the third.
You know what it is? It's another one of those things, like you said, none of it matters until you get to the end of the season. Did it hurt you or not? Because if you're into the playoffs, then, well, who gives a shit? But if you miss by 2 or 3 points, and then all the teams around you, they went in and kicked the shit out of Chicago, and you didn't.
But it's not even just. First is this team has. I think I said it already on this program. I think they're making the playoffs now. I said last week it was Calgary or Colorado. One or the other was going to make it. I think the Flames, they've accumulated a bunch of points that you didn't even realize they were accumulating, right? Like tie in Chicago. Okay, well, tie in St. Louis. So the streak of points has continued to pile up in an odd way. But it's not, they should make the playoffs. And to make the playoffs is great now for me because I didn't think they were going to. But for the rest of the organization, the playoffs were a certainty and home ice. And the loss to Chicago and the points against St. Louis, that's where it'll bite you in the ass, right? You might still make the playoffs, but instead of being at home playing whoever or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Instead of playing Seattle or LA, now you're playing Vegas or Winnipeg or Dallas. Well, I'm sorry. I know who I'm picking to want to play, and it isn't those top 3 teams. So those are where those single points will bite you.
Let's do our toast of the night. The toast is brought to you by BK Bowfort Liquor, our buddies at BK Bowfort Liquor. Give Mandeep a call, 403-247-4722. Send them if you need to email them, or you know what, just go. Craft beer, wine, spirits. They are family owned, family run, and if you like supporting good people, you support BK Bowfort Liquor on the Trans-Canada, right across from Canada Olympic Park, beside the McDonald's and the Starbucks in there. If you're heading out of town, head to the mountains, that's your stop. Grab your stuff, your pops, whatever you need on the way out of town with BK Bowfort Liquor. Who gets your toast of the night?
I might go with Markstrom again because I think it was a tough spot for him. So, yeah, my toast of the night goes to Markstrom because I think that he had to answer. It was a loss, but boy, I don't think you can pin the goals on him. And you and you certainly can't pin the fact that the Flames only put one on the board on Markstrom.
I am going to give the toast of the game. I was going to give it to Zadorov, but then you kind of ripped him for not getting the puck over it with the empty net. I'm going to give the toast of the game to Chris Tanev because he was on that one play when it was the 4-on-1. There were a number of guys who were at the end of their shift, and everybody else booked it to the bench, and it would have been a 4-on-0 if Tanev didn't hang around and think, guys, you see these yellow sweaters coming, right? There's 4 of them. He hangs back, desperation play, gets down, knocks the puck away. Not surprised, but that's who he is. That's what he does. So for that play alone, look at this guy. Oh, geez, we got to get back in. Fellas, where are we going? Chris Tanev. You must love this guy, don't you? Or you don't love him?
I know. I do love the guy because I know exactly what that is the hat trick goal right there. Like that's him scoring a hat trick.
Because I think of it going through his head, right? As you're watching all of your teammates skating off towards the bench as the puck's being turned over. Oh, fuck. All right. I'm tired too.
Maybe it's his fault for being so damn slow. It's just like getting away from the bear. I don't have to beat the bear. I just got to beat my buddy.
Yeah, there it is. Those are our toast. The toast of the evening brought to you by BK Bowfort Liquor, Trans-Canada Highway, right across from Canada Olympic Park. Even just stop in and say hi. Say, hey, heard you on Afterburner. What do you got here? So you got some drinks? What do we got? Some cocktails? Let's go. BK Bowfort Liquor. Craft liquor, wine, spirits, and Mandeep. What more reason do you need?
New buddy.
Pinder's new buddy. Oh yeah, he's very excited. He's very excited to have Mandeep on board. Mandeep he'll be crushed tonight. Mandeep's a big Flames fan. His family, big Flames fan. They'll be taking this one hard. We'll see how hard the coach is taking it. They are, again, this is a tough stretch here. Nashville, well, you're on a charter, but it's still a bit of a haul. They will be off Tuesday, and then Wednesday they've got a game against Colorado. Colorado's a little up and down, but they are the defending champs. Either way. Will it be a fatigued Daryl Sutter? We'll get his thoughts now, post-game from Bridgestone Arena.
I didn't like the goals against in the first period, and I thought we'd take a penalty when it's 5-3. When it's 2-1, you take a 5-3 penalty. You're probably not in the right mindset.
On the two goals, was it the coverage or what? I didn't see many goals.
We had guys laying in the crease on both goals. Our guys, generally it's the other way around.
How about the kicked in goal? You see it the same way?
Yeah, you know what? I don't like saying kicked in, right? Because there's one night that's a goal, and then one night it's not a goal. So obviously, if we're saying it's a goal and they're happy it's not, but it could be either way. I mean, on the ice it's called a goal, so generally that's kind of overrides. So it's not like Tyler was kicking the puck. Distinct kicking motion is stand up and make a distinct kicking motion.
As a whole, how did you feel this 5-game road trip went?
Got more points than games played.
So, because that's one of those where you have to have enough to overturn it, you're saying kind of?
Yeah, I'm really not sure. I mean, they call, and that's the rule. Not that I agree with it.
Did you feel like you had enough scoring chances? I don't know if you outshoot them, but were there enough scoring chances in there?
Yeah, I think after 2 periods, we had some guys with no shots, so we're counting on some guys to produce a little more. And seen it on the trip. Wasn't just tonight.
In that first period, was it a case of you guys that not starting that well, or they just really came out firing?
Yeah, I think a little bit there at home, and we're finished at the end of a trip, and I just no magic to it. I just think that both goals they scored, you got to check. First one, you got a defenseman lay in front of the net, and then right at the end of a power play. But, you know, after 2 periods, their centermen were totally dominated. I don't know what it is, but what it would be at the end, but the face-off ratio, we talked about our centers versus their center. We've seen it in Calgary too. Sissons and Johansson totally dominated us there, and I didn't see after 3, but after 2, on my little tick of my own, we were getting our asses kicked. That's possession. That's a big part of it.
There you have it from Flames.com. That's Daryl Sutter postgame for Bridgestone. It's great because we sit here and kind of you formulate your thoughts before you do this thing. So, all right, what'd you say? Well, I didn't like the Anderson penalty. Oh, yeah, there it is. There it is. I love how you got a defenseman laying in the crease and you take a penalty. Never by name, very rarely by name, but just lets you know where the displeasure is. Hard to disagree with much of what he had there. I don't know if you're on the kicking motion or whatever, but outside of that, pretty much, I think we kind of covered everything that he had there.
He's going to say that no matter what, right? If you're a coach, you're not going to agree if a goal's called back on you. So I would think that that's about as distinct a kicking motion as you need. So I'm not.
Sissons, 68% in the face-off dot for Colton Sissons. Johansson finishes the night with 63%. All in 60% to 40%, but those two guys specifically. And who knows how that if that came back down to earth a little bit in the third period, because he said after 40 minutes. I do love, it's weird because we talk about, do we play Daryl afterwards? Is there even but I'm always fascinated to hear what he's got to say. Defense, our guys laying in the crease, usually it's the other guys. So there's a little something there. He's people lying in the crease trying to get it. I don't know what to take from Daryl, but there's always something there that makes you think.
I'm more interested in what does he say anything directly to Rasmus Andersson, or does Rasmus get enough of the message by not playing, or from maybe hearing bits and pieces of an interview from him, right? Like, does he really give it to him about the stupidity of that play, or is it just, I know you were an idiot there, so.
And you couldn't go further down your bench than Stone to put out when you need a goal to tie it at the end of the third with the goalie out.
But that being said, I'd put Stone out there before Tanev.
It was just enough to make you think, right? If it was Tanev, then
yeah. Yeah, then it was like,
Tanev, that's a real statement for sure.
Here's a question then, and we can discuss it another time, but is that okay? You're a team that is not I continue to say I think they're going to make playoffs now, but you're not a team that's comfortably in a playoff spot. You're certainly not a team that's comfortably in a home playoff spot. You've got a power play. Well, I guess it wasn't a power play, but you've got the goalie pulled at the end of the game and a chance to tie and get a point. Are you doing the right thing, or are you okay with sending messages, right?
If it were Tanev, you would feel like you're almost spiting the group to send a message to one guy potentially. With Stone, like you said, even if it is to send a message, guy's got a big shot. We don't have a lot of guys that can shoot the puck from distance. Why not? There's just kind of enough there to make you think that it's legit. If it isn't legit, then that it was. It was a dumb penalty, though.
It was
a dumb penalty. God.
It's hard to fathom.
More points than games played when he was asked about the road trip.
I hadn't heard that one, I don't think, before, but sure. Okay. I actually had to stop. And okay, yeah, I guess.
So, yeah. So I guess 500 would be, is that what you're shooting for with the road trip? I don't know. Always good to hear from Daryl. I take it back. We got to have Daryl on. If we can do it, we got to have Daryl on. There you go. So yeah, long trip home. What do you even recover fatigue wise? Because it's another game with travel, right? Now you got a long trip.
They're going to be terrible on Wednesday night. Like I got
All right.
to think that they're going to get tomorrow off, and hopefully that. And maybe they'll get an IV treatment like Retro would, or try some new wave, funky gadgets.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll help them out. But get your earbuds in and your nose rings out, but that's tough travel. That's tough travel. I would expect some level of fatigue to maintain itself over the next couple days, anyway.
Yeah. Then it's a 2-day break before Tampa Bay comes in on the weekend. And there's something about Tampa Bay, and maybe it's just because they've done it, but they're like Undertaker, right? As soon as you think he's dead, he sits up as, hey, still here. And I don't know. When you start looking at all these teams, and Boston's looking terrific, and the Leafs are having a great year, is anybody going to say that you guys are out? It's the same team. The same personnel's there.
If Vasilevsky wants to play well, they're tough to beat.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
I got to think that the Flames will feel better by that game. I actually think that that Wednesday game is going to be a tough go for those guys.
It'll be Pinder, myself. Yeah. You betcha. We'll let you have that one off. Congratulations. Well done. Well done with the time zone work. Well done. Pinder and I will be on with Afterburner after that game, and then of course the game of the weekend we'll talk about on Monday on the other program. So the Flames dropped the finale of the road trip 2-1 in Nashville. This time in regulation. An extra point would have made it right. Then it's way more points than games played. That's tremendous road trip then. But they head home and get ready for Colorado on Wednesday night. That's going to do it for Afterburner here on FlamesNation.ca.